In the last lecture, I set you a little task, and that was to change the background color of the main screen of our app to a random color every time you click the transport button. So this lecture is going to cover the solution to that task. The first thing we're going to do is copy everything inside button touch-up inside. Actually, we're going to cut it, and then we're going to change our button touch-up inside. We're going to remove all this and hit plus equals, put a space, and you'll notice Xamarin says I can create a method stub for you called button touch-up inside. Double click that, and Xamarin creates a completely separate method to help keep our code organized and clean. Now paste what we were going to do inside of there. Underneath that bit of text, we are going to have code to change color. Let's have view. Remember, I gave that to you as a clue. The view represents the first layer of the entire view that we see in our app. Dot background color, and if we hover over background color, it tells us this is a UI color. So let's make this equal to UI color dot red, for example. So let's hit play, and now when we click the button, our text will get transported and the view's background color will be red. And there we have it. And now that we've changed the background color, we can notice a few things. The background to a button is clear, same with the label, but text view and text field are set as white. So always bear that in mind with your app, because if you have a background and then you have a sudden jarring transition to just a white background, it doesn't look that great. So always test your GUI and test often. Right, that's not the complete task that I asked you to do. I asked you to change to a random color each time. So inside of here we need a little function to grab a random color and assign it to our view. If we remove this red color and start typing from, there are different ways of specifying colors, and this is applicable across all of the UI elements in iOS. We can select from RGB, and this allows us to have integers, floats, or bytes to set values of red, green, and blue. So it expects 3 values. We can give it a 0.1 F for float, a 0.5 F for green, and a 0.9 F for blue. And now if we hit play, that should give us a fairly bluish greeny color. When I click the button, and we have a blue color. Right, stop that running. So how do we get these into random numbers? Well, it's simple enough. Let's create 3 variables. So var rand1 is equal to, we're going to grab a new random. Then once we've got that random seed value, let's hit next double. And then we can copy that line and create a rand2 and a rand3. This isn't the only way to do randoms, of course. You can do it any which way you please. But for now, we'll use this. Then inside here, we're going to drop in the rand1, the rand2, and the rand3. Now when I hit compile, this is going to give me an error. And the error will be a type mismatch. We cannot assign doubles to system floats because the view background color expects a float and the random is returning a double. we can explicitly convert this to a float. So in brackets, before the command, let's have float. And what this does is grab the double and create a float out of it. Now when we hit play, that should work well. It's all built, and every time we hit the button, we should get a new random color for our background. You may be asking, why is the color gray? And the answer is simple. Over here, inside of Studio, where we created these randoms, every time you create a new random, like I said, I believe it uses the system clock. These 3 lines of code execute so fast that it uses that system clock random seed variable in quick succession to the previous one, which means that this random number tends to be the same. So let's try something a little different. Let's call this var rand seed is equal to a new random. Then let's use that rand seed to actually grab our next double. So we've only created this random class once, or this random variable, and each time we call it, we're saying I would like the next one, rather than recreating the same random class because it's so close in time. Let's hit play and see if we actually get a color coming out of this. I hope so, because it's the first time I've done this on this app. Hit transport. There we go. And we have many, many colors. Any random color you can think of, we have now created it. Okay, so that's the solution to your little task. You've learnt how to change the color of practically any element inside of a view in iOS. This is going to apply to text views, to backgrounds, to text colors. Wherever you have a color object, you can do things like this.